Welcome to the new BEA. I had the pleasure of moderating the ICA Asia Pacific Beyond the Curve webinar series on 26th of May. Close to 150 professionals, majority based in Asia, logged in to see what 4 professionals from different associations have to say about the changing event formats and financial models. Until a vaccine is introduced, will travel restrictions and the lack of travel confidence hinder the success of global conferences? If that's the case, should Asia be creating its own regional and local conferences? We asked Carola van der Hoof of the International Pharmaceutical Federation, an organization that represents 4 million pharmaceutical scientists through their 150 associations across the globe. And here's what she has to say.
Yeah. Well, I do think that depending on the vaccine, when this will come, we don't know. The expectation will be that it will be there by the end of the year, early next year. But again, it is not, if it's there, they still have to produce it. So it can take at least 6 months that it's available for everybody. So this is a very important item to keep that in mind. And of course, when the countries are lifting their travel bans. My view is that the global conference will remain, but it will be different in a way that you might have less participants, and there will be for sure a virtual aspect to the conference. Everybody was already thinking about that, but this is now happening. The smaller events, like the more specialist events, if they were internationally, I do think that they will go virtual, because for 1 or 2 days traveling, it will be a different way of traveling around the world. As you can imagine, we don't know, because there are not so many flights, but I can imagine that people are more carefully thinking what they do. Global conference, yes, for sure, they will, but it first needs to be a vaccine. I do think that, if particularly in Asia, I think you should more focus on the regional events, congresses. We started already last year to focus more on regional events, so trying to have at least 4 regional events in a year on top of our global conferences, because we think that first of all, it will be a smaller conference in number of days, but we think that also you can have more people coming to the conference, and also the prices will be less to attend the conference. And I do think that, as I can see in Europe, that most probably Europe will be open for our European people. So meaning we can travel from the Netherlands to Spain, but it will not be open yet for people maybe from Asia. I don't know if that will be the case, but that's what I'm hearing. I also know, for example, that there might be more openness between Australia and New Zealand. So I think in the near future, so in this year and maybe next year, that Asia should focus also on the regional events. But I'm sure that in the future, the global events will come back. But we need to have first the vaccine.
We asked the ICA audience that evening some questions. 86% of our audience agreed that Asia should create events at regional or local levels. But the concern is around global versus regional content. Carola advised that the global conferences should focus on delivering global content. As a differentiator, the regional conference presents an opportunity to collaborate with local organizations to address regional challenges whilst tapping onto global trends and solutions. Like most organizers, our panel of experts had to reschedule or cancel immediate face-to-face events. Many immediately turned to virtual events. However, participants and sponsors are not that convinced about the return of investment if we continue to fully rely on just virtual events. Richard Simcott, founder of the Polyglot Conference, shares his concerns.
What I think that we can do is at least put across our ideas and our thoughts. What's missing always on the online experience is the synergy of ideas. When you meet people and you spark up a conversation with somebody who maybe you hadn't considered somebody you'd reach out to actively, and then a synergy of ideas comes together and a new idea is created or born. And I think that's something that online still we're yet to see a way that can be done in a very organic way.
But what are some of the logistics challenges when putting together a virtual conference? Greta Kotler of the ASAE and the Center shares her experience.
Well, this is our ASAE annual meeting that was planned for Las Vegas in August 8th through 10th. And just a few weeks ago, it became clear that we needed to not do a hybrid meeting, but to actually do a 100% virtual meeting. So this, I think what I'm learning from everyone as we talk around the world is this is a new challenge for all of us. And hopefully, we'll continue to learn the best ways to move forward. But we are challenged with trying to replicate a conference that had, very exciting general sessions, concurrent sessions in education. We have an exhibition, so that comes to the question of how do the exhibitors really participate and get value from this? How do we deal with the sponsorships? How do we deal with the networking, which we've all been talking about? We want to create as much as possible for people sitting in their apartments or homes, the opportunity to, reach out and have an experience with each other. Often, as Richard said, that works better when people know each other already. And then we have so many special events. We have an awards ceremony. We have a certification within ASAE. So how do we walk people across the stage, which they've really dreamed about doing when they studied for their exam? And then how do we really celebrate? We've spent, maybe 3 years working on how to celebrate our 100th birthday, and how do we do that? So we have 10 weeks, or we had 10 weeks when we started. We've put together a large team within our organization. I think we are all, very challenged, but very, upbeat about the opportunity to learn a new format, we're working totally as partners to figure this out as well as possible. And we know it won't be perfect. And we really think at this point in time, it's okay not to be perfect, that we're all learning together, that we're trying things. So I would say there are 4 things. One is, what will the experience be of the participants? And we're very, very keen to have the best possible from your home, experience that feels as much like the real thing. And it won't be the real thing because it isn't. Then the scope of the conference is number 2. The timetable is very short, and then the implementation itself. And so we, as much as we did not want to go this way, we wanted to go with a exciting face-to-face in Las Vegas. We are also excited about the opportunity to try our best to make this a very good opportunity. We'll try and make sure you hear about it and hear the opportunity to participate, but we're off and running with, if not weekly meetings, daily meetings, and learning together on how this will work. Thank you.
How do you manage the different time zones? Because it is easy if we're all flying to Las Vegas in the same time zone, we might have jet lag, but running the program is easier from 9 to 5, for example. So right now, where some of your audience, a big part of the audience could be in a completely different time zone. So how do you time it in a way that people are not missing out?
Well, again, it's not perfect. We'll do some of the live programs on Eastern time, US time, because that's the time that many of the participants will be there, but we'll have many tape sessions, and we'll try to have things going on in the evening US, which is the morning Asia, and we're hoping to have quite a few Asian participants. So we're going to work this week on how we really do the timetable so that the Asians and the Europeans can participate. But some of the live sessions will be recorded and will probably be on US Eastern Time.
When it comes to selecting the next destination for the event, we know that at present, safety and hygiene is important. But how do event organizers sort out the vast amount of information out there? Here are some advice from Professor China Rong of Sarah International and Greta of ASAE.
One reason if we have to choose the destination is about the public health service. I think this is important, that just in case you fall ill, you need a good public health service. And of course, statistics for the time being also play a big role. How many are infected at the moment, and so if the least it is, the better it can be chosen as the destination.
I think, as the professor said, we're looking at what the health situation is, but I think also for the destinations and for the convention centers and hotels, we would be looking for the specific things that they're doing to take in account the health and safety of participants. So, we don't know if we'll still be looking at social distancing, at smaller events, but I think all of the things that the actual location, the convention center or the hotel is doing will be very, very important in making the decision. And those things will need to be communicated to the participants who need to feel very safe about traveling out of their countries and then, going to another place, the hotels.
Richard and Carola said that although safety and hygiene is important, it is only part of a bigger picture of the overall event strategy. Now, when it comes to the future, it is a little bit of a crystal ball game at the moment. However, what we can do right now is to find out how we can collaborate with destinations. Here are a couple of meaningful examples on partnership with destinations.
So from my point of view, I would look to them for mutual benefits from the conference. So the Polyglot Conference, it can be quite an exciting news story for local news and for international news. So we were on Japanese TV, on one of the most popular Japanese TV shows last year at Fukuoka at the university. The year before that, we appeared on BBC World on their World Radio service. And BBC actually came physically to Ljubljana in Slovenia, and they recorded a series partly at the conference. So what I would say is, the local convention centres and bureaus will have connections to local newspapers and national newspapers. So those kinds of connections are good because as somebody organising an event going to different parts of the world, obviously I don't have contacts in every single country. I do have some international contacts, but not everywhere. So those kinds of things are really good. People who would be local partners and sponsors and this would possibly help as well to alleviate the kind of costings for the convention centres, that they could sponsor certain aspects of the trip so that we can offer more value for a ticket price. The ticket price could possibly go up to compensate that, and therefore there's an offsetting of ticket prices, therefore revenue, therefore we can pay more for the venue. So there are ways like that we could work together. That would really require locally people to really use their networks to find where we could add extra value and offset things for participants and reallocate the money and the funds for things where we need to pay something very concrete.
I have many hats, and one of my hats is education, school and universities. And like Richard, you gain access to media exposure. For me, I can have access to school and university, and this is all about volunteerism. I have teachers, lecturers, students volunteer to come and help. Probably we are one of very few countries that can offer cultural performance and also volunteer to help in any way they can. In one convention, I still remember that there are over 1,000 students and teachers and others signed up for about 100 people that we need. And I think this is a very good opportunity for the future, that we need volunteerism, people who volunteer to come and help us.
The associations industry has strong legacies. Some say that associations will survive COVID-19 like they did during the 2008 global financial crisis. But how are associations managing their financial status?
As I said, FIP is a member organization, so the majority of our income is coming from membership. The question is membership secured for next year and the year after? Because we are not the only one having issues. It's everybody in the whole world is affected. But this is a worry for us. And we also have decided not to raise any of the membership fee for next year for our individual members, but also for our member organizations. But we know that there might be issues with member organizations who are not able to pay their member dues. So we have to really think, what is the value we give them in return? But that is one. On the other hand, of course, we are an NGO, but we need our Congress to run our office. We have a very healthy reserve, so we're still managing this year and maybe also next year to get over this issue. Yeah, the good thing and what would happen to our organization is that due to the COVID, we have been in contact with all of our corporate partners. And normally we do not have a lot of financial support, but now during the COVID, every organization, or not every, but a lot of corporate partners from FIP are willing to do something with FIP separately. It could be webinars, we do surveys for them, and we even do reports. So we are lucky that this happened to us this year, and we hope to, of course, to continue, because we think that besides the membership income, the Congress income, that associations need to find another business arm where we can have the money, because if you are not financially healthy, it will be a lot of difficulties for your association. And I believe really strongly, if the finances are not good for an association, that there will be many who will not survive. Luckily, we are still doing quite good, but I think that there will be some problems for other associations.
The pricing model of events is broken. The ICA webinar poll indicated that 76% of our audience would pay less than 50% for events that have gone virtual. Now, we know that some associations have reduced or waived registration fees to support members who are going through hard times. The opportunity is now with sponsors who are investing in brand building activity with your key asset. That is your community. This is how Richard is managing sponsorship at the moment.
Our sponsors are slightly varied, so they've been affected in different ways by what's happened this year. Some of them are publishers, so they publish language books, and therefore obviously there's an impact on sales, so I'm sure financially there's an impact there because bookshops have been closed. Others are language apps, so things that are online, things that are sort of all digital anyway. People have been at home, so I imagine they've seen a spike in activity, and I imagine for our publishers the spike in their online book sales or digital versions of their books would have been seen. Now, I've had a couple of conversations with sponsors already. I've not put together a formal sponsorship package this year yet, because I've been waiting to see what we decide and where we go with the conference. But yeah, to my mind, I'm willing to be more flexible this year. I think that it's important to support the industry as a whole, the language learning industry, and I think that to do that, we need to lean on each other. And so, yeah, in line with kind of this, would expect to pay less than 50%. I would concur, and I'd say that I've seen that from the corpus of people interested in what we do, as well, that the interest levels for paying a full amount or close to full amount would be way reduced. The actual product of what we create with the videos online will still be there. The value for our sponsors will still be there because their logos will still go on them. They will still have input into the program. They will still be able to suggest speakers. And so those kinds of things are not going away because of COVID. They're still there. They can still also get that benefit from being part of the whole event. So actually don't see a huge impact on the sponsors. They're physically not going to be there, but at a conference you're only there for the couple of days that you're together, right? It's what happens afterwards and that the rest that really lives on beyond the conference. And I think that's still in evidence before and after COVID.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is, instead of having a sponsor's exposure just over that 2 days, you are now looking at elongating that exposure, online, offline, and kind of exposure
it
for
always
them?
was. So we always have had that. So the Polyglot Conference, one of the benefits is that your logo is on all of the videos that come out of it. So there is no change in what they can do. And in fact, the sponsors have got virtual products that they can use for prizes or competitions that we run as part of the conference. So all of that carries on in the same way. So I don't really see a big difference, just that the physical presence won't be there this year. Potentially if we go completely online.
If sponsors are willing to invest money to expose their brand to our community, it is paramount that we keep our communities engaged in a meaningful way. For membership-based association model, it is also important that you know how your members value their membership. The webinar poll gave great insight to those who want to work with communities based in Asia. We asked for the most important factor when joining an association now. 42% of our audience voted for business networking, whilst 23% of them chose relationship building. It doesn't mean that members do not value education. Perhaps it just indicates that everyone wants to improve their financial positioning. Sarah International in Thailand knows their members well. Professor Chanarong shared how engaged members can help shape event formats in a way that sponsors may invest in.
They still expect a face-to-face meeting, but more than that, they want more than traditional a keynote lecture. They don't want us to jump too quickly for an event which goes all virtual, like the one Greta has just shared to us to be held in Las Vegas a few moments ago. It is interesting to hear one suggestion, at least this is from several members in our country, in Thailand. They want the future convention to be, I'm thinking of the English word for this, festivalization. We need to attract, we have to work harder in order to attract more people to attend our convention. Our members seem to be inspired by immersive and memorable atmosphere at music festival, or in the case of Thailand, temple festival. We seem to want to have festival experience to be incorporated more and more into future convention. You may already know that Thai people love celebration and festival. And so what I'm trying to say is that lecture style session formats should be deconstructed in favor of setup that promote lively interaction and active over passive engagement. This is something that we need to think more about this in order to attract. What we try to come up to the answer is that the members, the audience must have a very clear idea, why should I travel a long distance with so many risks to come and attend this convention. And so this kind of ideas help us to make the convention more lively.
We celebrated when the Events Industry Council released the 2018 study, which indicated that the business events industry injects $1.5 trillion to the global economy. Despite that study, our industry worked hard and struggled to get the attention we need from governments to save jobs in our industry. Nothing is for free, and it should not be. Buyers, sellers, and attendees should come together to help the industry build profitable models for the business of events so that we do not repeat the pains we went through during COVID-19. When it comes to the future, I often take a lead from composer Theodore Hook. He said, The best way to predict the future is to invent it. I sincerely hope that we can work together so we can be successful again.